The success of this podcast is due to the comments, feedback, and letters from listeners. There have been a flurry of actors reaching out to either comment or ask a question or even share their successes. Okay, I know it may seem like an ego massage, but let's face it, we could all use some positive strokes. This episode of Casting Actors Cast is all about communication to and for each other. Questions and answers coming right up.
It's time for another episode of Casting Actors Cast, insights for actors from a casting director. Here he is, your host, Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello, and welcome to this episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm casting director Jeffrey Dreisbach with McCorkle Casting in New York. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is that moment of the podcast where I get to say thank you so much. It's really great having you on board. If you're a new listener, I can't tell you how grateful I am that you're tuning in. And if you've been a long-time listener, it's so cool that you are still with us. This is the podcast, and we're simulcasting on YouTube as well. So we call them patios. This is the patio where I do my very best to give you up-to-date information on what it is to be an actor on the professional side. Each episode, I try to do something a little bit different in that I talk about business matters in one episode, and then I'll talk about the actor's headspace in another episode, and then I'll talk very, very specific tips, hints, and suggestions on how to do a self-tape, for example. So each episode, I try to cover as much information as I possibly can in this short period of time. It's absolutely free. It's 20 minutes. It's once a week. This is also that moment where I get to say hello to my good friends at Actors Connection. Actors Connection is a really great place. They're all online classes with working professionals in the industry. So please do yourself a favor. Check out actorsconnection.com/New York. Hello to my good friends, Colleen and Tony. Very cool. So listen, let's talk about this. I love getting the feedback I'm getting. And by the way, you can send me an email at castingactorscast@gmail.com. That's castingactorscast, all one word, at gmail.com. You can go to the website, castingactorscast.com. And if you go there, you're going to find all kinds of really cool information. I have classes that I'm teaching you can check out. I also have a thing called Jeff's Jots, and those are show notes to the corresponding episodes. So you can have a one-page sort of outline of each and every episode of the podcast. That's completely free of charge. Also, if you fill out the form on the landing page that says dive into the talent pool, come on, that's pretty funny, right? So if you dive in and just give me your name and your email address, by the way, I don't do anything with that. I don't sell your email or anything like that, but I will on occasion. I'll kind of do a promotion of an upcoming podcast on occasion. Like I've been mentioning, I've only done it like 2 or 3 times over the past 2 or 3 years. So I'm not like a spammer. I don't try to chew up your bandwidth with stuff about the podcast. Okay. But anyway, if you do that, that opens up a menu of some freebies. One is a book that I wrote. It's 100 pages. It's downloadable PDF. And it's called Conversation Pieces Out of the Studio, the voiceover workshop for professional actors. It's, like I said, 100 pages. It's all about doing voiceover work. It's completely free. So come on, what are you waiting for? The other is a video. It's a private video called Casting Secrets, What They Don't Tell You. But I am going to tell you in this free private 20-minute YouTube video. So you can check that out as well. All of that and just trying to continue to grow a community of like-minded actors who really want sort of the inside scoop and want to feel more comfortable and more confident as they pursue their acting career. So thanks for that. So I have a bunch of letters here and some comments and some questions. So it's kind of a mixed bag today, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to share with you some of these things. And some of them are just kind of really nice and complimentary and things like that. But I just want you to know that I chose these only because, I need some strokes. I need to feel kind of good sometimes about the work that I'm doing. And comments about the podcast are always so reassuring to me. I don't get paid for this. I'm not doing this other than I love doing it. And so the love is going to continue if I continue to hear from you. And so that's why I want to sort of put this podcast out there for today. But how are you doing? How are you feeling? Hopefully, you're not taking your own temperature too much these days. There's so much going on out there that it can get overwhelming. I know. I get it. So hopefully you'll find that these podcasts are going to be reassuring. Hopefully you'll find that because I, have a positive message out there for actors, I think this is an excellent time to be an actor. I'm hoping that you will get that sense from me so that you can continue to pursue and make those dreams come true. After all, that's what makes life worth living, right? Is in pursuit of those kind of cool things that can happen for actors. So that's why this is all here for today. So let's see. Let me go to the first one. This, you know what? The last time I did a question and answer, I read this really nice email and I completely omitted in the notes the person who wrote the email. And guess what? I'm embarrassed to tell you that I'm still looking for that person's name. It's like, what did I do with that email now? And, I'm a one-man band here, and my organizational skills, they could use a little bit of help. But anyway, so if you've heard that episode and you heard we went off the air and I was made myself laugh so much because I was like, how dumb can you be? But anyway, so here's today's, and I made sure, here's my papers right here. I just made sure that I had everybody's name right down in front of me. So this first one is from Sandra, and she just makes a nice comment. And she writes, I absolutely love your kind and encouraging podcasts. Thank you for you. Isn't that nice? The next one is from a gentleman named Drake, and Drake asks a question here. He says, please tell me how to find the best acting classes. I live in the Midwest and have a hard time figuring out what would be best for me this summer. Any ideas? Thank you, Drake. Thank you for that email so much. I'm so glad that you're a listener to Casting Actors Cast. Well, obviously, the first thing I'm going to tell you is to keep on listening. By the way, there are past episodes. We go back 3 years now of episodes, and I can't honestly, I can't think of an episode that is like so dated that it sounds like it's not good information. I try to jam pack each and every episode with some really useful information. So consider going back into the archives and listening to some of those past episodes. I think you're going to find those honestly really, really helpful. But more directly to your question, what I love what's happening now, simply because of COVID, is that you can have access to classes anywhere in the world. So there are all kinds of opportunities that might not otherwise be available. Now, you might think that doing a scene study class, for example, online is kind of, not great because you're missing that human connection. And I understand that and I appreciate that very much. But let me just tell you, from my experience working on monologues, doing scene study, doing a film and television class, doing it in a Zoom environment, wow, guess what? You're getting more and more comfortable on Zoom. And because self-tapes, because Zoom auditioning is not going to be going away, it's going to be around for the rest of our lives. Wouldn't it be cool to take an acting class where you learn to feel more comfortable and confident in this new technology? And so reaching out, and of course, I talk about Actors Connection here in New York all the time. There are several others. There's like the Growing Studio, and there's One-on-One NYC. There's all kinds of places that are offering these classes. So, you might not like this answer, but it's sort of the word of mouth, doing your research. Depending upon the kind and type of classes that you are looking for, it's just simply a matter of doing a little bit of legwork by going online. But I've taught classes. It's been amazing with people in Paris. Just last week, I had a student that was in Paris, and their class, it was like 9 p.m. and it went till midnight. And it was like the coolest thing ever because there's that actor in Paris actually acting and doing monologue work and receiving feedback. So there are ways that can do that as long as you're structuring your time and as long as you're evaluating exactly what your needs are. If you really need a place to start, just in terms of, where you are with your acting, taking an acting for camera class and doing it in Zoom is a really smart idea because you get more comfortable on Zoom, but also you'll learn the technique of what it is to be acting on film and television projects with film and television material, with perhaps somebody who's actually working in and on film and television stuff. So that would be my direct response. Just take a little bit of time. You're going to figure it out. Check out some of the classes I'm teaching. I'd love to have you on board. All right, we're going to move on from there. Thank you, Drake. That was really, really great. We're going to move on from there to, this is a gentleman by the name of Mark. And Mark says, love the show. It's already helped me get my acting career back on track after a long hiatus. I'm getting work like never before. Thanks for the great tips and advice. Wow. That's like the coolest thing ever. And I get this kind of letter frequently from folks. It's so gratifying, I have to say. But folks who've been away for a while, or maybe they've always had this dream and they've never done anything about it, but now they're coming back to it. And since COVID, it's triggered something. That's always so gratifying when people are able to reach out and let me know that because they're listening, they're getting excited. That's what it's all about, right? Helping each other the best that we can. And you getting better at your acting work helps me cast better because I know what the talent is that's out there. I get a good idea about those actors who know how to do good self-tapes. That counts for a lot. So there's a lot of, here's a good word, reciprocity. How did I come up with that? Anyway, so thank you so very much for that, Mark. Appreciate it. Let's move on from there. This next one is from Janet. And Janet writes, thank you so much for your service and dedication to teaching actors how to master this new technical aspect to your auditioning. You are so specific in your critique of the actor's self-tape, the technical as well as the acting portion, and manage to be both brutally honest and affirming at the same time. I love casting Actors Cast. Wow. What can I say to that? Thank you so much. That comment about brutal honesty, I try to finesse it the best that I can. I try to communicate as efficiently as I possibly can. I try not to be too brutal about it, but when I see self-tapes repeating the same things, the same mistakes, the same issues happening over and over and over again, I have to say I get a little bit frustrated by it. I'm saying, my gosh, we're almost up to 74,000 downloads of this podcast. It's like so great. Well, I wish some of those folks would tune in, honestly. Again, I'm not trying to pat myself too much on the back here, but you know what? I really wish that some of these folks would get the message and start implementing some of these things that I'm talking about. But for those of you who are dedicated listeners and you're listening to each of the podcasts, you know that I'm giving advice that's making a difference. At least I hope that you can sense that. Let's move on to this next gentleman. This is Jonathan. And Jonathan writes a rather, I think this is a really important note that I got from him, and it really does bear me giving some advice. So let me go ahead and read the note from Jonathan. He writes, I'm currently signed with an agency in Orlando. My agent barely ever sends emails concerning jobs, although when I started out, she had me sign up with casting networks under their agency. The only emails I get are spam emails from casting networks. And when I get emails from her, they are general emails that state, for example, you have been requested to submit a self-tape for the Visit St. Pete commercial. Please go on Casting Networks for self-tape instructions and confirm or decline the request. General emails for a group of different talent. I'm very new to the industry and I want to succeed. It has been about 2 months, and I haven't had a single job booked through this agency. Maybe I'm doing something wrong or misunderstanding how this whole thing works, but I figured that signing with an agency would mean an agent finds me jobs. I do an audition, and either I get the role or not. I'm not really sure what to do at this point. If I should terminate the contract and sign with another agency, or maybe talk to my agent, but this was not what I thought having an agent would be like. I would greatly appreciate if you could give me some advice on how to handle this situation. And that's signed for Jonathan. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I appreciate that a lot. And this is kind of a common thing that I'm hearing. So first and foremost, you're not the only person who's had this very, very similar kinds of experience. The details might be slightly different, but it's really interesting how some agencies are really all about getting you into their office, and then suddenly it feels as if you've disappeared, that you don't exist anymore. I certainly, in my acting experience, I've had that happen to me early on in my acting career. I would meet with an agency on Friday and they would say, gosh, we'd love to work with you. And I would say, great. And it all feels so great. And I have a fantastic weekend thinking I've got a great agent. And then I call in on Monday just to check in. And they're like, they're busy right now. Or who did you want to speak to? Or what is this regarding? It's like, I was like the flavor on Friday and now it's Monday. It couldn't have been that weird. It couldn't have been that, what happened? So I've had that experience, but let me give you some thoughts about this first and foremost. The agent is responsible for finding and getting those appointments, those auditions for their talent, for their stable of talent. Now, Jonathan, I'm not 100% sure of what if you're signed exclusively with that agency, then that really demands that you have a conversation. Because no, it is not normal for you just to get spam requests for submitting yourself through that agency's website. That doesn't make sense. A personal relationship is part of the process of having good representation. And so I would consider making contact with that agent and literally just expressing yourself the way that you expressed yourself so beautifully in the letter that you wrote me. For example, something to say would be, I just would like to know what is the best method you have of working. And I'm concerned because I really haven't received any calls for any auditions or any interest over the past couple of months. Is there something I should know? And be really honest and open about the question. Leave the emotional side, if you can, out of it, and just approach it like a business, because after all, that's what it is. Now, if you're not satisfied with the answer, then obviously, if there's another agency in town, perhaps you could parlay your previous relationship to a new agency saying, I was with this person, they didn't help me too much. I'm wondering if this is a meeting that we should have. Those are the ways that you can, generally speaking, that you can parlay that not so great experience into something that might have some weight and value. It's also, though, incumbent upon you to make sure you get feedback about other agencies that you are working with. Under no circumstance should any actor ever pay an agent. Period. End of story. They might want to suggest photographers that they have. They might want to say that you have to have these acting That's all bullshit, and you shouldn't do any of that. An agent is there to help garner, good word, job opportunities, pass them along to the talent. The talent then submits themselves. The talent shows up to the audition. That's how it works. So my suggestion is to first have a conversation with your agent. Second, do the research on other agencies that you think might be of benefit and be of value to you. And I think that that's a really good foundational place to start. It is not normal or not usual that you sign with an agency, if that's in fact what you did, and they not call you for auditions. They wouldn't sign you. They wouldn't take up the time or the energy to bring you into their stable of talent and not use you. That does not make sense at all. Although, that would be kind of really dark, and we don't want to go there today, but that could be a really weird, there's something maybe else going on there. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up in this way is that Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, have a clause in any exclusive contract with a franchise agent being that they ascribe to the rules and regulations set forth by the unions. And so a regularly franchised agency knows that any exclusive contract that you might sign has a 90-day out clause, meaning if you don't book anything within that 90-day period of time, you can break that contract without any questions. So think about that. If that is in fact a SAG-AFTRA contract, is one that you've signed, they haven't booked you in 90 days, then by all means, that would be a just reason for you to say, I want to dissolve this contract because you haven't done anything for me. And that's perfectly within your right. But I would suggest starting with the other two suggestions first. Just kind of see what's out there, by the same time being able to be businesslike and frank with that agency. So, Jonathan, listen, I hope that that's helpful to you. I would love to hear back from you. So feel free to write me back. Let me know what transpired. Let me know what happened. All right. Thank you so much. That was Jonathan's question about signing with an agency and not getting much happening. So that's sort of disconcerting, and I'm sorry that that's happening to him. And I hope that it has a nice transition into something more positive and more beneficial. Good luck to that. So here's another letter I'd like to read. This is from Patrick. I'm absolutely loving your recent podcast episode about networking. I hope you hear from each and every actor for whom this episode is a helpful listen. It is so much needed at times like this. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. A year ago, you gave me some feedback on a self-tape I submitted, and I'm really pleased to report that feedback changed my wardrobe and stand off center, helped me book my first TV job. I premiered last month on History Channel's Food That Built America as one of the founders of Arby's. That is so cool. It's right at the top of my new reel. Thanks again for all the work you're doing on the podcast and the help you give actors. A close friend of mine, Sierra, raved about your on-camera class at the Growing Studio, and I'm hoping to get in the classroom with you soon. All the best, Patrick. Well, thank you, Patrick. I just always love it when you implement some new stuff in your self-tape and then it suddenly gets you the kind of attention that you deserve. That is so very cool. I couldn't be more grateful to Patrick for mentioning that, and congratulations. Sort of a guilty pleasure is watching that show. The Food That Built America is like such a fun show to watch. I'm just really fascinated because it takes all of these people who came up with these ideas and these concepts for the Food That Built America, and it really does a really excellent job, I think. So I'm looking forward to seeing Patrick on that reel and on that show when it airs live. I guess it aired live last month, so I'm going to have to kind of check that out. So listen, I hope that this has been fun for you today. It's certainly been a joy for me, and I appreciate you letting me indulge some of those nice comments that I've received. But it's kind of the summer's coming on, and I just wanted to kind of get a fresh start with questions and answers from you. Please feel free to reach out, castingactorscast@gmail.com, or you can go to the website, castingactorscast.com. And listen, I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. So hang in there. Keep showing up, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining Casting Actors Cast. Please don't forget to review, like, and share Casting Actors Cast wherever you get your podcast videos. Thanks. I'm Megan Grace Martinez.